It's Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis. Welcome to another Channel Weird. We're very excited to be here today. It's it's a beautiful day in Pacific Northwest. I hear it's going to get rainy and cold and sleety. Go back to normal of drinking a lot of coffee and being wired here. That's what we do here in the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, a lot of people say to me, and I do a lot of videos for Ground Zero, and I do a lot of videos for a lot of places, and I wear these, really cool horror shirts. I got like Dracula and Frankenstein's monster, and I got Creature from the Black Lagoon, Swamp Thing, all that stuff. I say, where do you get your cool T-shirts? And I say, well, I go to a haunters conventions, and there's something called the West Coast Haunters Convention, and they hold it at the DoubleTree Hotel here, right here in the Lloyd District, and guy that I love to hang with, and this guy is an amazing guy, Ed Roberts, who he's one of the purveyors of weird here in the beautiful city of Portland, Oregon. And he's one of those weird guys that are behind the scenes. He's just the purveyor of oddities and weirdness. And of course, one of the chief reasons why we have the Haunters Convention. And also, he's in the business of scaring you. He has been involved with many haunted houses in the state, and every year we were at his haunted houses. They're amazing. Well, let's just bring Ed on. I might as well just sit here and talk about you without you even coming on, because there's so many things that you do.
Good afternoon, Clyde. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to hear that you are.
Thanks for having me
alive
on.
and well, and doing what you do, because it's an amazing thing what you do. When did you first get into the I guess you could call it the business of scaring people? Tell me about
1978, when I was a senior in high school.
Really?
Yeah, was working with a group called Campus Life. They were doing a haunted house in my hometown of Ventura, down in California, and they said, "Hey, you're a big guy. We need you as a Frankenstein." So I did that, and then not shortly after that, or not too long after that, I got a job at a costume shop, and the rest is history. Got hooked in Halloween.
It's funny because when I was in high school, I was the president of the drama club. Okay, it was called the Performing Arts Club of Kearns. We called ourselves the Pack, and we became one of the richest clubs, or actually one of the most wealthiest clubs at Kearns High School, because we did a haunted house.
Yep.
And we actually took the stage. We had a stage in our high school that was huge. It was like almost as big as a sound stage. We were able to, we had pillars, and we had this mock-up from the Music Man of the mayor's mansion, and we made it look like a crypt. And so what we did is, and this is the best effect anyone could ever do in a haunted house. We had people go up the stairs, they'd open the door, and they'd come down the stairs. We had an orchestra pit that they came to, and we got all these caskets because there was a girl we worked with. Her father owned a funeral home. So we got all these caskets, and we lined them on the orchestra pit, and people would come down the stairs. And then the minute they come down the stairs, we would hit the down button on the orchestra pit. And the pit would go down 6 feet below the ground. And then the caskets would open. These vampires would come out, and people were scared out of their minds because they couldn't escape. It was one of the funnest things we ever did. But we made $1,000 for basically a 5-minute spook alley. It's like you come in and you're out before you know it. But we were charging like $10, and people, they say, "Oh, come to the spook alley. It's a short ride, but it's still fun." And they are money makers, aren't they?
They can be if they're done right. You bet. You bet. The School for the Deaf, where I've been running the Nightmare Factory over the past 33 years. Not open this year, but we'll get back. We've done quite well as a fundraiser for the school.
And a lot of the people that get involved with these haunted houses, they're actors. They're people who love to get dressed up. Is this like a major? I mean, this is role playing before live action role playing even was a thing, right?
It's role playing, and I like to think of it as walk-through theater. If the show is done right, you're actually in an immersive environment where just for the 5 minutes or the 30 minutes that it takes to go through our haunted house, you are immersed in an environment that hopefully you can suspend reality for a little bit and have a good time being scared. Every haunted house is different. You're going to have one that like to go for the gore, or the ones that like to go for hyper realism and storytelling,
Mhm.
um, or just the good old fashioned haunted house where there's some great scares. Uh, and again, it supports a great cause. Most of the haunted houses in our area do just that. They support charities in one way or another.
Mhm. I think one of the best experiences I had in a haunted house is I was in a room. It was a butcher's room, and they had like pigs and what looked like you know cows or beef hanging in the room. And there was this guy who had a pig's head that he was wearing, and he was wearing a smock with blood all over it. And you'd come through these plastic, kind of like this plastic entry, and he was there, hacking away on whatever it was. You look at it, it looks like it's a human body, obviously. So he's hacking away on this human body, and one of the things that was really cool about it is that you were able to go behind pillars. And I knew that the guy that was doing this knew that we were in there, but he acted as though he heard something. And then he picked up his knife and he started stalking the area looking for us. And we hid. That was one of the scariest experiences I ever had in a haunted house, because rather than having somebody going, brah, scaring me like that, he
Yeah.
was kind of being very stealth. And I
Yeah.
thought, can he see me or can't he see me? And I started breathing hard. And it was like being in the middle of a real movie, like if Leatherface or if Freddy Krueger was in there. And it was so well done because the pig's head was very effective. He was wearing a pig's head, which I thought was really creepy. So you don't realize what really creeps you out unless you find a really good room. And those who do these rooms, they invest a lot of money in their props, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, some haunts decide they want to just build everything on their own. Some go to the bigger conventions and buy some of the large props. We do a combination of both.
Mhm.
Right now, we're at the Nightmare Factory currently building a catacomb full of bones and skulls and whatnot. We're uh, building a bottomless pit, but all that we're building ourselves, and then we've bought some large props. We had hoped to be able to show them off this year, but
Mhm.
just gives us more time to make it even scarier. So yeah, the combination of big props, it depends on your budget. We're lucky that we have a good budget, that we can go out and buy a few of these larger props every couple of years, but
Mhm.
not everybody has that. If I may, there's a haunted house in Hubbard, Oregon, that Mike Milburn's Haunted Manor. He builds everything, and let me tell you, it is a great. It's out in the middle of a pumpkin patch area out in
Mhm.
Hubbard,
Mhm.
and it's fantastic. Or then you go to Fear PDX, where they have that real high tech, great walk through haunted house.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but the comparative between what Fear PDX does and Milburn Manor, both experiences really fantastic.
Yeah, and like you say, they're getting more high tech. But I remember, back in the day where I enjoyed being part of the haunted scene, and I did a lot of things. I mean, we invested in things like Tesla coils. We went and we got like
Can't do that anymore.
you can't. Oh,
No,
okay.
fire marshals do not like Tesla
You
coils.
know, like Tesla coils. We had Tesla coils. We made homemade Jacob's ladders,
Oh,
which and the way we did it is we went and we find old buildings that were torn down. We took the transformers, and looking back, this is the most dangerous things that we did when we were high school
there
kids.
you go.
We'd get these big black transformers, and then we'd take coat hangers and we'd position them up so they were
Oh, Clyde.
separated, and then we would put regular plugs, the plug in the thing, and we put the wires, we plug it in, all of a sudden, zap, zap, zap,
Right?
and we did that. Well, we stopped doing that because one guy, his name was Daryl, we went to school with, thought that using Jacob's ladders in a science fair project was a great idea. And so what happened is they weren't firing properly for some reason. So he goes and he grabs them by the wire, and
No.
some moron plugs it in. I saw him go. I swear, he flew 10 feet across the room when
No
he got
doubt.
shocked. That's how much power. And so I can see why they probably don't allow them in spooky
No, there
houses.
are. You can still Tesla coil, but it's all done with LED lighting now and great
Oh,
sound effects. You can get away by using the new technology. You just can't
right.
have something where Daryl can grab a hold of it and throw
Yeah.
himself across the room 10 feet.
Well, and
Poor
there was
guy.
an old haunted house I went to where they had Frankenstein's monster, and they had the electrodes. Back in the old days, they could do it.
Yeah,
They had the
yeah.
electrodes firing up and everything. And for some weird, cruel joke, they would ground they would ground these things on the chain. And so if you
Hmm.
grabbed the chain, you felt a little jolt when you were walking through. And I thought, that's not right. You shouldn't do that to people. You shouldn't shock them when they're going through it. That's some things that, those types of things, back in the day when there weren't regulations, I'm sure, people would get away with all kinds of nasty stuff
Oh
to
boy,
people,
did they ever. Yeah.
right? What
Yes,
are
indeed.
some of the rules? I mean, are there rules now? I mean, I'm sure there are rules now that you can't
Uh,
chew your teeth.
there's building code and there's fire marshal codes. I mean, like if you're building a haunted house, you have to make sure you have certain number of exits per linear feet. You have to make sure that if there's an emergency, your show lights go off and your house lights come up, and that there's some way for people to get out in an orderly fashion. You have to have emergency plans.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're just asking for trouble. And everybody that I know here that runs a haunted house in the Northwest does just that. They're all by the book. You bring your fire marshal in, you bring your inspectors in, you walk them through, and you show them what the show looks like with show lights on, and then you show them how it will transition from show lights to house lights.
Hmm.
You Every haunted house has to have a sprinkler system. We had to install a full sprinkler system one year, so that code came through in the 90s. And all of these codes are a result of incidents that have happened that have, made it to where we have to change the safety codes. I mean, back in the day, Clyde, I used to be able to cover the haunted house with black visqueen. But if black visqueen catches on fire, it turns into napalm and attaches itself to your skin.
Oh my God,
You
it's
don't
like
want to do
having a
that
face
anymore.
hugger. We're going to be back. Ed Roberts with us right here on Channel Weird, hearing about the business of scaring. And we're talking more about oddities as well. That's going to be another cool thing to talk about. Ed Roberts on Channel Weird. We'll be back. On the phone with me is Ronnie from getthetea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
A lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's taglined the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
Getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com.
Fantastic. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go? Well, I want to let you know that we now have our own online store with such items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. Coming soon will be signed posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com. It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain. And the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
It's a well-known fact that controversial talk show hosts have recently been censored and even banned on the internet by corporate and political interests. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. And in order to counter the suppression of information, we've decided to create our own private digital playground called Aftermath. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring a social media platform, videos, audio clips, archive shows, research groups, documents, and a news aggregator. In addition, we're hosting other Ground Zero friendly podcasts like Conspirafact with Wes and Bill, Into the Microcosm with Jimmy Jean, Parawareness with Mr. Gates and Isaac Weishaupt, Opposing Perspective with James Ponder, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray Valentine, and several more shows. Mobile apps for Android and Apple are available too. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month. And don't forget to check out the yearly specials, including the Friends and Family Pass with 1 main account and 3 sub-accounts. Sign up now by going to aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media. Welcome back to Channel Weird. With us today is Ed Roberts, the purveyor of oddities and the purveyor of all horror and weirdness. And we're glad to have him here. So I guess the big question is, as Halloween is approaching, what are some of the favorite attractions that appear in haunted houses? What do people tell you are the best, the best experiences they've had?
The best experiences. Good storytelling, good effects, good pacing. The best scares. People hate clowns. People don't like little holes in the wall. They don't. What's in there? If they got a little
I
hole
hate
in the wall.
mazes. I hate mazes.
Mazes. People don't like mazes. People don't like the idea of they might be touched by something.
Right.
They don't like the unknown. So one of the things that I've noticed, the trend used to be, well, we'll do a Freddy Krueger room and a Michael Myers room, and we'll do, and those are gone because none of us have those kind of budgets. And Universal and Disney are very, and all the others, Paramount, are very protective of their properties now, since they're doing Halloween and haunted houses. So we have to come up with our own creatures, our own scares. So
really,
yeah. So it's like they know. We have at our haunted house, we have iconic characters that we've created, Mr. Booger and Baby and all these different characters. So they know that they're going to be there. We've spent a lot of time kind of promoting that aspect, that we have our own creatures, our own characters, and how have they changed over the years? What is Dr. Howlina up to these days? So there's that. Because also, if you copy a movie and you don't follow that storyline, or you do something, people are going to call you out. So if we do things that people aren't familiar with, it gives them a sense of unease. And that's what it's about. A good
So you have
soundtrack.
to be more creative. You have to be,
You do.
and
You
I
do.
didn't know that you'd have problems with some of these movie companies. And yeah, I know Disney
They
can
don't
be
like
screwed up.
it. I've heard of them shutting down haunted houses because they've had it, or they've just done a cease and desist. Uh, so we stopped doing that
Right.
years ago.
What about, I mean, some of these trends, though, I mean, I haven't been to a haunted house in like maybe 3 years, but
Yeah.
it's like, I always say a maze in a haunted house is like the beans in a burrito, that's supposed to have meat in it. They put more beans in your burrito because they're cheaper and they're kind of like, we want to waste a little time. Let's throw a maze in there. But these also, I've also noticed that they do these things where fat people can't go in, and that is these rooms where they, I guess, have these inflatable pillows or whatever they are, and you're like,
Claustrophobias. What?
claustrophobia type of thing, and it's like fat people don't do well in those in those
And
rooms.
most people don't do well in those because it's a tight squeeze. The
Yeah,
claustrophobia tunnels were developed quite a few years ago, and their popularity that's still out there. We don't use them right now. We do
right,
have some in our haunted house, but we don't use them as much.
right.
Um, Walking in complete darkness and silence. I'm looking at the public comments here. Um, for pacing, yes, there has to be an area where it's kind of quiet. It's
Mhm,
hard to do in a haunted house because of all the noise from the other rooms,
right.
but some quiet, just that ramp up. Even though our haunted house is at a school for the deaf, we have a custom soundtrack that is designed,
Mhm,
lighting, fog and mirrors, baby. How do they do that? And then hiring in people. Ours is an entire volunteer, and I think most haunted houses, unless they're pro, use volunteer people. And we bring in anybody that if you can pass the background check and you want to be a part of it. We have a young man out of Washington who has no arms and no legs, so he's a quadruple amputee, and he's the best. Nick the Zombie. You need to
Yeah,
look him
wasn't
up.
He's been in like The Walking Dead. He's been in
Yeah, no,
several.
he's been in all sorts of. Yeah,
Yeah,
we met Nick at a Comic Con 8 years ago, I think
yeah,
now,
yeah,
and he was doing his zombie thing. I'm like, buddy, have you ever thought about being in a haunted house? And of course, at the time he was a minor, and so talked with his parents. Like, hey, I know we're clear down in Salem, Oregon, but I would love nothing more than to have, if he wants to, be a part of our haunted house. So
yeah.
Nick and his family come down and participate. And again, it's a school for the deaf, so I have deaf actors. Uh,
Mhm.
Actually, some of the best actors that we've ever had in a haunted house. I know that Not Scary Farm down in California actually looks for deaf actors because they are some of the best actors because
Mhm.
their visual sense is more keenly adapted.
Yeah, and they know how to. I knew a deaf kid when I was growing up, and he was a Boy Scout, and he was always the most entertaining guy at the campfire because he told the story kinesthetically, which was
Yep,
it's an amazing thing to watch because the storytelling is a lot more, I think, powerful because you're not using words, you're using the body, you're using body language,
that's
and
right.
so a lot of what we have here is the haunted houses, and like I said, the best thing that I ever experienced was silence in a butcher type of situation.
Yeah,
That guy, whoever he was, he didn't growl, he didn't do anything. He just breathed heavy and he was looking around like I was like somebody's in here. I don't know who it is, but when I find them, I'm going to kill them.
it's a
And
great
he
effect.
didn't. He didn't do anything. But see, that's the thing is the idea that did he see me? Is he? I mean, what's he thinking? What's he about to do? And see, that's the thing is that sometimes little is more.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're very subtle,
Yep.
it's more. It's not what you see; it's what you don't see
It's the
and what you can
distraction
imagine.
also. You
Yeah,
think that the scare is going to happen over here when the scare is going to happen from above or below or the opposite side of where you're at.
hmm
That distraction is also very important in a haunted house.
hmm
Um, Pacing. You have to make sure that you don't just go bam, 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 bam with a scare. You have to give people, like someone was mentioning, you have to give them that moment of, oh, okay, we're in a dark maze. It's still scary, but I got a moment to get my stuff together, and then bam, you do it again. Um, so yeah, pacing, and we're always looking for something different to provide people. We study people's phobias. We actually have a part of our handbook is what are the fears that people have, And so we play a lot on phobias.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, some of it's not the overt frights; it's the subtle frights. It's that
Yep, I
feeling
agree.
of dread that you know. I always say that dread is a hell of a lot more enticing in a horror film than just the idea of jump scares and those sort. I mean, if you can create that feeling within you of the butterflies or we say the vampire bats in the stomach, you know, that's something I think is far more valuable than just jump scares and you know and gore. You know, that's the thing. The art of horror movies, you know, sometimes gets lost, and we got to have a lot of gore and a lot of blood and a lot of stabbing and a lot of this.
I agree.
Not really, because you see movies like Hereditary, or you know, you know, these new films that are coming out that are long burns up until the point where it gets really spooky. That to me is probably the best thing that's ever happened in horror, is that they do these long burns up to the point where things start looking bizarre, and then they start becoming more bizarre, and then finally you get your breath taken from you, and then they just kind of even it out with either some comedy or they even it out with something else, and that's the fun part. And I've really been watching lately some documentaries from Eli Roth and others talking about what constitutes a good scare, and you know, some things that scare people are the things that they can't control. If they lose control of something, that's when they get scared. So if they're in a situation where they don't feel they're in control, that's going to terrify them.
Yeah, and again, you know, what was I going to say? Oh, scary movie. Sorry, scary movies. Parasite. Have you seen Parasite?
Oh, of course, yes.
The Korean horror film.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a slow burn, and how is this all going to play out? How fantastic. No, the other problem that a lot of haunted houses have is that sending through large groups of people. We were actually even guilty of that. I think there's something to be said about, like, if you just showed up with your wife and kid, we're just going to send you in, the three of you, and then you get to experience it as a family.
Right.
I think there's a little bit the safety in numbers thing. If we can make it to where the haunt can still be profitable, but also send people in smaller groups, you give them a better show. You were also asking about props earlier. Some of these props can range upwards to, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. So not everybody can afford these the animatronics. A simple silicone mask, which is great. I love the silicone masks, but they can range between $300 to $800 just for one. So there's
most authentic masks too. I mean, that's the thing, is you're looking for authenticity. You're looking for, I mean, Jonathan Fuller is a listener to my show, Ground Zero, and he's a mask sculptor.
Yes, he is.
And he's really amazing. Does a lot of amazing work. In fact, he recreated for me the Momo sculpture.
Didn't he do Momo for you?
Yeah, he did. He did Momo for me, and it was like, you know, this guy is mega talented, but I'm sure his work, you know, I would say that his work is worth at least, you know, $800, $900.
No, I'm not saying the work is not worth it. I'm just going to say, if you want to go to that level of authenticity, you're going to have to pay for it.
Right? Exactly. And
or
all the
you
other
could be
effects.
like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, and all the other effects that go with it, right?
That's correct. Lighting, sound. Yeah, you have to make sure it's a full experience. You know, and being in the industry as long as I have, I've seen all the changes. I can remember that Campus Life haunted house. They used to walk up a ramp, and you'd walk over. Somebody brought in their Doughboy swimming pool. Okay, and they planked it in the middle of this large room, and you walked across the Doughboy swimming pool on this plank, and there was a guy in a big rubber suit that was Creature from the Black Lagoon, and he was swimming around in this pool, splashing at people. Now, thankfully, no one ever fell in, but I can't imagine doing that in today's world, having you walk across a Doughboy swimming pool with the creature underneath.
The two most memorable props I remember in a haunted house, one was the tunnel that spun around and you couldn't walk through it because for some reason it made you dizzy. And then the other one was a huge Jack in the Box with this terrifying, it was just huge, this terrifying clown coming out. And and one more, the guy that was being executed in the electric chair, and how he shook and he caught fire. And that was a great prop. Ed, we'll be back. We got the music playing. We're going to be back with more Ed Roberts, horror aficionado extraordinaire, the man with the oddities. We'll be back. Don't go away. It's a well-known fact that controversial talk show hosts have recently been censored and even banned on the internet by corporate and political interests. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. And in order to counter the suppression of information, we've decided to create our own private digital playground called Aftermath. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring a social media platform, videos, audio clips, archive shows, research groups, documents, and a news aggregator. In addition, we're hosting other Ground Zero friendly podcasts like Conspirafact with Wes and Bill, Into the Microcosm with Jimmy Jean, Pair Awareness with Mr. Gates and Isaac Weishaupt, Opposing Perspective with James Ponder, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray Valentine, and several more shows. Mobile apps for Android and Apple are available too. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month. And don't forget to check out the yearly specials, including the Friends and Family Pass with one main account and 3 sub-accounts. Sign up now by going to aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain, and the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go? Well, I want to let you know that we now have our own online store with such items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. Coming soon will be signed posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com. On the phone with me is Ronnie from getthetea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way. I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
Getthetea.com. That's getthetea, TEA.com.
Fantastic. Ed Roberts with us on Channel Weird, in the business of scaring you. And he's done it a lot of it. And we're glad to have him here. So here's a question. I'm sure not very many people think about this. How do you prepare to have your best experience at a haunted house? Because I know when people go to these things, they're like, I don't know, they don't know what to expect. But I mean, I'm sure there's things that, you can do to make your experience better. How do you do that, in your opinion?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, we've seen thousands of people through, and everybody comes with a different attitude, perspective. I know that a lot of people will bring that one friend they know is going to be scared, so they can watch them be scared.
Right.
What is it that draws people to a haunted house? Because haunted houses, as we know them, have been around for a long, long time. I can't even tell you how long. So what is it? What that good scare, knowing that you're going to go in, you're going to get scared, you're going to have a good time, hopefully, and you're going to come out at the other end. Much like when you go see a horror movie. Why am I going? Because that adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
So how does someone prepare? Come with an open mind. Come to have a good time, but also be respectful, because a lot of people don't realize that there are still people that will come to our event or others' events and try to ruin it for everybody.
Right.
And that's not tolerable. We can't do that. So
Yeah, I'm sure
come
you
and
have
have
your share of trolls that come into the haunted house and want to, like,
all the darn time,
yeah,
all the time. Yeah. And, we can deal with them. We don't want to ruin their experience, but we also we can't allow them to ruin it for everybody else
don't
either.
ruin my experience. I'm here to
Right.
scare you. Don't ruin my experience.
So along with the technology of scaring people also comes the technology of keeping everybody safe.
Right.
I know for a fact our haunted house has over 40 cameras throughout. So we can watch you from the very beginning all the way to the very end, both for your safety and the safety of our performers and our team. But come and have a good time. Come and get scared. And also know that in most cases, you're also supporting a good charity, a good cause.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And yeah, I mean, charity haunted houses. Do they? There are haunted houses though that are for profit
Oh,
too. I
certainly,
mean,
certainly. In Oregon, we have at least three that I can think of that are pro haunters. We call them pro haunters because they are doing it to make money, also to provide a good show. But it's their business. It is the business of haunting. It's huge. The charity aspect of it. There's a lot of us, but there actually, I would say, in the haunt industry, there are probably more pros than there are charity events.
I look at people who do pro haunted houses as like Christmas tree growers. They wait a while and then they make bank. Is that how it's done? Do the haunted house people that are pro haunters, do they make enough money to keep them through the year and then they just come back and do it again the next year?
In a business sense, that if you're going to run a professional haunted house, you're going to have to realize that it's going to take you at least 5 years to start turning a profit.
Wow.
And that you have to be prepared for that. There's no crystal ball that I can look into. As somebody who does consulting for a lot of haunted houses, and I've consulted with a lot, I tell people, first of all, don't do it if you think it's an easy way to make money, because it is not. We work, and I know everybody else in the industry works on a haunted house year round. You're constantly planning, you're constantly looking for new ideas, and you're constantly building, whether your location is a permanent location or it's one where you set it up, you run your event and tear it down. You're constantly looking for new ways to invest. And then if you're a pro haunter, you have to pay your actors, you have to probably pay a lease unless you're lucky enough to own the building. It's expensive. So I tell people looking to go into the industry, you don't want to do it unless you have the money to burn and you're willing to take that 5-year risk, because it is risky, because you're only open for a month. So you have to make all of your money in a month. Now, some of the haunted houses have turned to escape rooms, and they're doing escape rooms during the off season. That's great. There's other haunted houses. I know Fear PDX runs a Valentine's haunted house, an Easter haunted house, a St.
Krampus.
Patrick's Day.
They do a Krampus.
Krampus, yep. So
isn't Krampus like revenge for those who kind of like Krampus's revenge for those who put Christmas before Halloween?
I
so we have
guess
a lot of spook alleys now, or a lot of haunted places that certainly love Krampus. In fact, my wife went to a Krampus haunted house and she sat on Krampus's lap, and it was
nice.
Yeah. So I mean, thank
And
heaven
then
for Krampus, right?
there's also another trend. We don't have, well, I don't know. The Oaks Park was a drive-through. There was a scare fair in Canby last year that were drive-through. They were an alternative to actually having a haunted house. Don't think we have those this year. I do know that up in Clark County, there is a drive-in movie theater that has been set up at the Clark County Fairgrounds where you can go see a scary movie or a family-friendly movie and then
Right.
have scare actors roaming around by your cars.
That happened. There was something a long time ago that I went to. It was some really bad B horror sci-fi film, and they were saying something like a movie so intense that the monsters will jump out of the screen, and they hired actors to dress up as monsters to basically hang out in front of your car. And there was, and some of those were like the ones from the urban legends, like Hookman. The hook was
Hookman.
hanging from the door, and so that's the thing is that I guess it depends on the atmosphere. I don't know if drive-through haunted houses would be that fun. I really don't want to sit in your car. I mean, come on.
The
Car's
one that
pretty
I
good.
participated in Canby did a really good job. It was,
Really?
you had everybody, and there were three of us, four haunted houses. Davis Graveyard was a part of it, and we all had FM transmitters. So as
Oh,
you went from space to space, we had our own spooky music, we had our own sound effects, and then there were some scares throughout. There were some actors that were scattered throughout. So
mhm,
it did good. And I can't speak to the other. I know that Oaks Park did when I didn't get a chance to go because I was busy. This
right.
year, I actually get to be home for Halloween for the first time in 33 years. So decorated my front yard with the help of a bunch of friends and family, and I'm going to be outside handing out candy for the first time in
Wow.
3 decades. You
So
know?
what do you prefer outdoor venues as opposed to indoors? I mean, I know
No,
that
I
you're in the
prefer indoor.
business. Okay, and because I've been to outdoors, like pumpkin patches and things that have been scary. Sometimes I think, having Leatherface standing at the end of a row of pumpkins outside is pretty terrifying.
You can combine it like Milburn Manor does. He does both in and out and does a fantastic job.
Right.
I know that in New Hampshire, there's Haunted Overload, which is a phenomenal all outdoor event.
Mhm.
If you've never heard of them, I would recommend even just looking for Haunted Overload and taking a look at what Eric and his crew do.
Right.
But indoor, outdoor, just because you're at the mercy of the weather.
Right.
If you're
Right.
outdoors, you are at the mercy. And I experienced that last year in Canby. We were at the mercy of windstorms, icy nights, fire, smoke, you name it.
Yeah.
We had to deal with it, but it was. I had a good time. The people that worked with me had a good time. So we
I
were able to
wanted to
provide Halloween for someone.
Well, I want to address something else, and I know maybe you
Sure.
have nothing to do with any of this, but what are your opinions on these shock houses that are popping up everywhere, like in California and other locales? Because I've
You
been
mean
seeing
the
ads for
full
those.
contact type haunted house where you can
Yeah,
be pet and
being put in a coffin, being buried alive. I don't know what
look.
else they do. I mean,
I'm not a fan. I'm a traditionalist. There are people that will tell you that you know they're a haunted house. Obviously, people are going to them.
they're a
Um,
torture house. I think. I mean, they do
Torture
everything
house.
except
They
pull your fingernails out of your hands.
they'll put you in a freezer and lock you in and pour gooey junk all over you. And I've met with one of the owners of one of these a few years back at one of the bigger conventions, and I he said it's all smoke and mirrors again. It's all just for shock effect. And
Right.
like, well, whatever. I mean, if you want to do it, if you are willing to submit yourself or
Mhm.
subject yourself to
Right.
being sued as many times as you have, then
Right. Well, I mean,
we
there's
don't do
something to
that.
be
I
said.
don't consider it a haunted house, Clyde.
Right. There's something to be said about when you go to a haunted house, you have to have a safe word.
Yeah, no. Well, now we there's a thing in the industry called a blackout night.
Right.
So where you come and you go through by yourself or with maybe one other person, there's no lights. We give you a glow
Wow.
stick and you're on your own. And then at that point we give everybody a safe word because 30% of the people don't make it down the first hallway in our haunted house. And I don't, other people probably the same thing. And they get in there and they realize, no, I'm not doing this. And so that we would have safe word. And all haunted houses, we talked about the safety plan, have to have it to where if somebody's totally freaked out and can't make it, you have to be able to get them out safely. But to
Yeah.
have it where the haunted house is so if you want to call it a haunted house, again, I can't even. That you have to have a safe, or you have to sign a release,
Right.
or whatever. It's just not a haunted house to me.
Well, I mean, back in the day, they used to say, movie's so scary, you have to sign a release form if you have heart problems or whatever.
Right, but they weren't coming out and grabbing you and throwing you into a freezer or sliding you down a slide or whatever.
No, not at all. Okay, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And then we're going to come back and talk about oddities. Got to talk about oddities before we get through with this program. Ed Roberts with us. Such a fascinating trip down the horror alley and the horror business for Halloween. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Channel Weird. On the phone with me is Ronnie from GetTheTea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea to make.
Just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's taglined, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea, TEA.com.
Fantastic. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go?
I don't have any time out.
We want to let you know that we now have our own online store with items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases.
There's time out.
We find posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com. It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain. And the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
It's a well-known fact that controversial talk show hosts have recently been censored and even banned on the internet by corporate and political interests. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. And in order to counter the suppression of information, we've decided to create our own private digital playground called Aftermath. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring a social media platform, videos, audio clips, archive shows, research groups, documents, and a news aggregator. In addition, we're hosting other Ground Zero friendly podcasts like Conspirafact with Wes and Bill, Into the Microcosm with Jimmy Jean, Pair Awareness with Mr. Gates and Isaac Weishaupt, Opposing Perspective with James Ponder, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray Valentine, and several more shows. Mobile apps for Android and Apple are available too. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month. And don't forget to check out the yearly specials, including the Friends and Family Pass with one main account and 3 sub-accounts. Sign up now by going to aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media. We're back. It's Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis. Ed Roberts with us today. So let's talk about oddities for a moment. Someone was telling me there's Curiosities and Oddities Expo going on, but you have oddities yourself. You're involved with, I guess you could call it marketing these oddities. Tell us about what oddities are and what it is and what kind of business this is.
Well, Odd Eddies or
Oddities.
Odd Eddies, play on my name and play on oddities, came about 3 years ago. We were sitting around talking, my wife and I, about how can we recreate ourselves when I retire from the school and don't want to get out of the Halloween business per se. So I've been reaching out to several people that I know that create curiosities or Halloween tchotchkes, as we like to call them. And then we started making our own. We're currently in the process of creating items made out of resins and different material. We're going to be doing some cement pours, some different skulls and skeletons. But for example, like this is our Cheshire cat. Where can I? There we are. This is our little Cheshire cat. That's terrible. There we go. I'm not good at camera. We created that guy. We make little jars that have different things on them. The jars, everything here you see we've made. And then we help promote other people that are selling their curiosities at no benefit to us. We just, there's people out there that are artistically inclined towards the bizarre or the unusual or whatnot. We also help to help promote businesses themselves, much like Raven's Manor down in downtown Portland, the bar that's all Halloween themed, amazing place. So Oddities or Odd Eddies right now has a Facebook presence. This is another product we make. It's a skull plaque and various different things. You can find us on Facebook. Right now we don't have the website up and running yet, but we like Halloween. We like things that are different and unusual. This is a gold, what is it? Gold leaf. Thank you, my boss. The gold leaf skull.
Look at that! That's amazing. All these things are homemade. They're made.
Everything here you see we've crafted. Yes.
Wow.
The first piece that we came out with was the mouse sculpture.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
And it's a lapel pin. So again, we do Halloween. I'm the founder and president of the West Coast Halloween Conference, or West Coast Halloween Con, as we're going to call it, West Coast Halloween Con. It was the West Coast Haunters Convention, but people had a hard time understanding what is a haunter. What is that? Are you guys out haunting people, or are you just doing haunted houses like the ghost hunters? So we've broadened the name to call it Halloween Con, West Coast Halloween Con, and it is also a charity event. We give grants to professionals that work with deaf or autistic children, and so just another way to help keep Halloween and odd people, the oddities, alive. There's so
usually,
Portland
they have Comic-Cons. They have Comic-Cons. Why can't they have Halloween Con? Why can't they have?
So we're going to have Halloween Con. It'll be May 13, 14, 15 of next year, Clyde.
That's perfect because people can go to Halloween Con in May, pick up all their cool things for their haunted houses in their yards and everything. I mean, people if they're not doing haunted houses, they are doing artistic work on their yards, and they're making. I remember there was a time where, and it was when I lived in Utah. There was a house in West Valley City that basically decorated their house for Halloween. This family decorated their house for Halloween, and it was such an attraction. It was like Christmas lights that people would, and it got into this little cul-de-sac, and people would drive in to see it. And they had like tombstones and ghouls, and they'd have this
Absolutely.
little, I don't know, this little trick they used to do to create fireflies. I mean, people get really creative when they can dress their yards up to look like a haunt or a cemetery or something like that.
And that's the other thing too, is through oddities or through the West Coast Halloween Con, we offer classes in how to do those things. I also just sent you a link to the Northwest Haunters Association map of all of the home haunts, pro haunts in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. So that if people are interested, you can go to Northwest Haunters Association and check out their map. It's very, very detailed. Go look at somebody's yard haunt. Come by and see my yard haunt. I've got it set up out here. But with oddities or odd eddies, it's just another way for myself, and my wife's involved, to create more scary stuff, because you can tell in the background we love Halloween.
Right. I mean, gone are the days of peeled grapes and spaghetti.
Oh
and dark
gosh,
rooms.
no. You can still do peeled grapes and spaghetti, but you have to ramp it up a little bit. It has to be maybe a charcuterie platter of peeled tomatoes and feta cheese. I don't know, but yeah, you can still do that stuff.
Well, it just adds to it. I mean, if you're, I remember back, Fulci came out with Zombie 2, and I was in a theater with my friend, and his name was Luis, and we were sitting together, and we had never seen a Fulci zombie film, and so we're eating pizza as the zombies are eating flesh, and we look down at our pizza, and soon the mushrooms all look like eyeballs, and we couldn't eat it. We basically were outside the car, just blowing chunks, because it was such a gory, messy affair. So yes, don't eat pizza when you're watching a Fulci film. You'll definitely find a way to toss that pizza back into its bag. That's for sure.
Name I haven't heard for a while.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing too, is that at these haunted gatherings, like I said, people always say, "Where do you get your cool T-shirts?" I say, "I go to haunters conventions, because they sell these cool T-shirts." I think, though, again, and there's this renaissance again for some reason of B horror and sci-fi films, and it's because horror hosts are making a comeback, and I think that's great, because I think there needs to be a way that we can get younger people to get into classic horror films, not just the 1930s and 1940s, but there are films that have gone out. I was watching this Eli Roth special. They were talking about Scanners. They were talking about all these other movies that were like, man, these are shows I like to turn my teenager on to, because we were sitting there watching old horror films together, and I sat him down. We watched The Exorcist, and we watched Sentinel, and we watched all these films, and he's like all wide-eyed going, wow. And I says, yeah, that show came out when I was 9 years old, and my mother and father thought I was sleeping in the car in the drive-in, but no, I woke up right the time where the girl comes down and says, "You're all going to die up there." And it's like, that's an experience, when you're young and impressionable, and and you're dealing with the devil. It's really a scary experience.
No, I love the classic. I was just talking with some friends yesterday about Scanners, and
yeah, really,
how they did that one effect. I don't want to ruin it for people, but if you've never seen Scanners, you've got to see Scanners, or the very first Phantasm. With the tall man, with Angus Scrimm is the tall man. Yeah,
Angus Scrimm. I actually had a chance to talk with Angus, and he did a liner for me for the show, and I never used it. I don't know why I never used it, but he was like, "You play a good game, Clyde. Now you die."
Oh, Clyde.
I got it somewhere in my treasures. It's Angus Scrimm. He was amazing. He came on the show one time and talked with us, and he was a school teacher, for crying out loud. And they found him, and he was this tall school teacher, and he really was very self-conscious about his acting. And so when I told him, I said, "Man, Angus Scrimm is one of the best scary characters." I mean, you don't get not very many people talk about Angus, but Angus is a very, very scary character. And I mean, he doesn't go by Angus Scrimm, but he's actually the tall man.
The tall man, yeah.
And the tall man always terrified me in Phantasm.
Good stuff, Pat.
Yeah, a lot of great. We could talk horror movies all day, but I hear the music's playing, and it's time for us to vamoose. So again, Ed Roberts with us. Tell us where we can find everything you do quickly.
Okay, well, you can go to Facebook and look up Odd Eddies, right now. The website's not up yet. We're still working on it. Or you can go to West Coast, fans of West Coast Halloween Conference, or you can just look up the Nightmare Factory. I'm involved with all three.
Oh, fantastic. In the business of scaring people, Mr. Ed Roberts, thank you for being on Channel Weird. It was a pleasure talking with you again.
Absolutely, Clyde.
And
Anytime,
much
bud.
success in the new year. I know horror stuff is, still cool, and we want to keep it going. So thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you.
You bet.